Audio Jungle.
All right, you guys set up and ready?
Audio Jungle.
3, 2, 1, go!
Audio Jungle.
We're live. Hello. Hey everyone
Hello.
out there in TV land. Happy Saturday. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, it's a Saturday for Creative Conversations. I'm here with my friend Darrell. Hi Darrell.
Hi, Megan.
I know.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going over there?
Pretty good. Yeah.
We're live.
quiet
We're
day.
here. I know, it's a chill day. So for those of you in Portland with us, it rained a little bit over the past couple days, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It finally cooled down just a little bit.
Yeah, we did get a good fake out with the over 100 degrees. I don't think it ever actually got 100 degrees. Also, thank you, Chris. Darrell, your hair is too nice for Corona times. You do look quite sharp today.
Every once in a while, I take my hat off, and here it is.
Yeah, so we have, with the team at the Experience Center, I think we're all, although Carter did get his hair trimmed, I think we're all on a mission to just, we're not cutting our hair until this is over. We're just going
I got one haircut.
full crazy hair.
I got one at the place, and it was odd because she didn't even warn me. She said, stand there, and she just started spraying me, like my hands, from 6 feet away. And she just misted me. I was like, well, okay. And then it was the fastest haircut ever, like 5 minutes. You cut it and kick me out. Yeah.
You need the so we were talking about Stranger Things earlier, which I'm sure will come up again, but you need those when you go into a containment room where it's just the psh, you're in a big tent. That's what we need in every
the quarantine.
Yes, a quarantine
room
spray booth, whatever they're called.
Yeah, that'll be with coronavirus. Everyone will have those in their houses.
Yes. September is coming soon. Not to talk about coronavirus or all these horrific things. We're here to talk about some great art with Darrell. For those of you that aren't familiar with Mr. Abney and his work, he currently works over at Leica. Why don't you, Darrell, talk a little bit about where you are, what you do over at Leica, and then I also would love for you to share with everyone kind of your professional career path, because I know you've worked on some really, really amazing things that I'm a big fan of personally.
Cool. Yeah, I'll break it down. Hi everybody, I'm Darrell. Yeah, I'll throw a little of my life story in there, but just a little. Grew up in Kentucky, small town. Went to college in Pittsburgh, Art Institute of Pittsburgh. I wanted to be a monster makeup artist. Did a lot of that stuff. Went to Florida for a few years. And I worked in building animals to the Rainforest Cafe with these animatronics and sculpting. And then I met a guy who worked for EA, and he was doing computer stuff. And I was thinking, I feel like I have a lot more opportunity with this. So I kind of taught myself Maya. I took one class at Noman in Hollywood, broke in the industry, jump ahead. And then I got into Leica eventually on Paranorman, which is a really fun project to work on because I love Halloween, everything.
Yeah, that's a perfect one.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then I left. I had a cool opportunity, and then I came back. So I've been back at Leica for 2 years now on their next film. Can't say what it is, but so I'm a character artist. My official title is CG Rapid Prototype Modeler, something like that. So, but basically, I sculpt character heads and I make them function as well. So we 3D print them. Mm-hmm. So we have to kind of break them into parts, usually in Maya and other stuff. and you have to like measure things and make sure that they physically function, and when they print, they don't break. And a lot of times, like different heads are different shapes, so it's always a different problem. Like, how do you fit like the eyes in there? How does it like not too heavy to break the puppet? And because there's a puppet department I work with a lot, and I work with like hair department. We cut the head in a way so that we can give it to another department. They can put hair in it. They're magicians too. I mean, like everyone there is super talented. Obviously.
Yes, I feel like there's a lot of magic that happens at Leica. I was able last year to do a studio tour, which is a very rare, very rare occasion. You guys are super busy, always super busy. I feel like the tail end of one movie getting finished and getting ready to launch is just the beginning of another film starting. So it's a magical
it's cool
place.
That you got to do the tour. I got to take my parents on the tour of Paranorman. That was like super cool to like finally show my parents like what I do. And Leica is the best place to do a tour because all my other jobs, it's just an office full of computers. Because like digital visual effects, but like if Leica actually had like sets sitting around from Paranorman, and the movie was done, so you could actually like walk into the sets and like look around, and didn't have to worry about breaking something that was in progress. Still don't want to break anything, or touch anything really.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's a team effort. I'm on a team of people. I don't know. We're just every movie. There's something different challenge. They're trying different things. It's all based on the script too. What we're required to do. Like when they were on Missing Link, they had to do a bunch of ice. Like 3D print some of the ice. So that was like a challenge, and armor for the monkey soldier guys. I actually didn't work on it. I got there as soon as that ended. But yeah. So that's what I do now. Of course, I've also worked on the big three, I should call it. I've got to work on Star Trek, which is Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Wars, which is Star Wars Last Jedi, and the last two Harry Potters. Those are like the ones I'm probably
super cool. Yeah.
Most proud of. And Paranorman, honestly, that's maybe one of the ones I'm most proud of because I got to contribute like a lot to it.
Yeah.
And I've done a bunch of other stuff. I worked on Aquaman and animated films too, like Hotel Transylvania 2 and Angry Birds.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that stuff's been pretty cool. Do you want me to show some pictures or anything?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What do you have?
Do
you have Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm gonna say shameless plug time. I've got my Instagram here. Art by Abney, if you want to see some of my stuff.
It's all real great.
And there's ArtStation, which I don't post to as much, but it's also artstation.com/Dabney. And then I have some tutorials on Gumroad/Dabney.
Yes. Now, what do your tutorials cover? What sort of programs are you in?
So this stuff's mostly Maya.
Okay.
The latest one is I went kind of crazy and I did a 20-hour tutorial.
I saw that, and then I had to take a nap in between trying to comprehend. 20-hour tutorial is unreal.
Yeah. But when you think about like if you're building like this robot, let's say for production,
right,
it's gonna take you at least a week. That's 40 hours.
Yeah.
It might take even 2 weeks by the time you get all the notes. So that's 80. So I really just show from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It's hand holding, I'll do I did another tutorial which was modeling this gun, this alien gun, and I didn't show every single step. I showed like the major steps, and then occasionally, most people are cool with that. Occasionally people will be like, you skipped a part, and it's like, well, do you want a 20-hour tutorial? I gave you one.
Also, Maya, for people out there that aren't familiar with Maya, it's an Autodesk program. It's complicated. It's really complex. So my introduction to Maya was actually through some of the other artists over at Leica. I think Ty Johnson and Chris Tran also use Maya. And to watch them, is a bit dizzying. The program is very complex, and then how you get to the drop-down menus is complex. So I feel like that 20-hour tutorial maybe just scratches the surface.
Oh yeah, it totally does.
Maya.
Yeah.
It's not like an easy. It takes some time. You just have to put hours into learning it. So this is great.
Exactly.
So this is on Gumroad, right?
This is on Gumroad.
Cool.
This one's got a shelf with some like handy scripts I made. It's stuff I use often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's that stuff. I'm going to be adding to it eventually. It does take a while to make these and edit them, and
I can imagine.
get
If
them
it's
out
a
there.
20-hour tutorial, how many more hours
Yeah.
to edit and
I actually modeled this, right? And then I went back and I didn't record it because I was just kind of fun modeling. And I went back and remodeled the whole thing, the tutorial, which is kind of psycho, I've been told. But it's a lot easier the second time. So
For sure, you've already gone through the
yeah.
motions. It's just muscle memory at that point, right?
yeah, exactly. I can show like
Yeah, what other cool
quick
work?
stuff. This is sculpture I did of Native American Chief Osceola and his horse Renegade
So cool.
for a collectible company. So yeah, that was fun. It's always fun doing stuff in like a dramatic pose.
Right.
A lot of my early stuff was just T pose, you know, just sitting there.
For sure. This also
Yeah.
has, now hopefully this shows up well for those watching the feed. This has so much texture. I'm going to make our little views a little smaller here. It has so much texture to it. Like you can see the horse, his like fur.
He's got a little fur on there, yeah.
The feathers look like there's a ton of
Positive.
texture. Also, horses are one of the most difficult animals, I think, to draw, to learn how to draw,
Oh,
and to
yeah.
probably sculpt. They're so there's just muscles and
Yeah, the
horsiness.
fur it was a learning process with fur and hair. Like a lot of modelers, I know when I was new, everybody's bald. It was like a bald monster. You didn't want to do hair. And then
Yeah,
only in the last probably 3 years I've really like made myself learn hair. And it's not bad once you get in there and just
right.
do it. I would say like what I learned is that you don't. The trick is not to sculpt every hair because then it just gets too busy. So you want
Right.
like an implied hair.
Oh, got
in a
you.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is that same robot just kind of coming to life. My friend Nathan Webb animated my robot. Props to
Super
Nathan.
cool. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah.
This
And
is
this
what
dude, like,
the great thing of having friends that also do insanely amazing creative stuff is like, hey,
totally like, and he works in video games right now. Like he worked on the Killer Instinct game,
nice.
bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's just a turntable. No textures on it. It's just materials. I do texturing too, which I'll show you guys. But spinning robot. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about work in progress stuff today too. So this is a work in progress. Not sure if anyone knows what this is.
Any
But-
guesses out in the chat? Anyone want to guess? Chris Diego, you're watching.
Oh,
Do you
not
know?
that.
No.
No. Well, it's the Hound.
It's the
Game of Thrones.
Hound. Yep. So
The
good.
Hound, yep. Thanks. So my idea was to do this and then like release it before Game of Thrones ended, and I got distracted by life, and I'm still not done with them. So that happens.
It's,
But
work in progress.
work in progress. Yeah. So this guy, I'll just get this out of the way now. I did the digital porgs for Star Wars. That's my 15 minutes of fame. It was fun. There were real puppets in the movie made by, I think, Neil Scanlon's Creature Shop over in England. And then, so some shots there were the puppets, and then some shots were these guys, the digital ones.
Cool.
And, yeah, so I did the model and the sculpt. Someone else, Brian Giacopo, did the fur. My buddy Riccardo Bonizzoli did the texturing. And Neil, can't remember his last name, did the look depth. He's going to hate me if he's watching this, but yeah. My buddy Neil. So yeah, and then of course there were like a bunch of different animators.
Right.
I also did the face shapes, so like build a
cool.
library of shapes that animators could turn them on and off.
Oh, cool. Okay. Is
Yeah.
it? We all love the porgs. I know. I do remember. I remember speaking with you about you working on the porgs before, and then we did our interview with you on the creative process. So for those of you also watching, if you go to the Experience Center Instagram to our IGTV, we have this whole series of interviews with artists from around the world, including Darrell, and he spoke about porgs, and then Chris was like, "Oh my god!" It was the best. I forgot about it. How is it working with such a large team, knowing, especially for let's use the porgs as an example because they're adorable little creatures. You have one piece of this whole workflow for just one character. What's that like? Is it sometimes hard to like not own it from beginning to end and just own a portion
Yeah.
of it, or
Yeah, it can be tricky. Sometimes, I mean, you want to be passionate about your work,
yeah.
right? But it's really hard to own something all the way through. Like a small, like a character, yeah. If it's a big spaceship or something,
Mhm.
you might team up with someone. So there's a point where you kind of have to like emotionally divorce yourself from
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to be like dead at work, like so it's a balance. So
Right.
but what I try to do is if I get something I really like, I try to just go fast and just get it done before they can like pull someone in. So that's my strategy. And you'll on Star Wars, I was excited about every asset. Like I also did the Captain Phasma double.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
So
I think how could you not be excited about? And I would deliver
Mhm.
people coffee on a Star Wars set, and I would be stoked about every moment of it. So
I was pretty stoked. I was told originally they were kind of downplaying. They're like, okay, we got some work on Star Wars, but it's only going to be like a month, and it's not going to be that interesting. I was like, I'll make stairs, whatever you need. And it turns out that I happened to finish on Valerian at the right time, which is a fun movie too.
Oh yeah.
Sci-fi movie. I finished on that at the right time, and they jumped me on. And it was first of a month, but it just kept going. It ended up being a year, but yeah, it was fun. This part's her real eye, but the rest
Right.
digitally did it because, of course, she had a real suit, but it's a chrome ball, so it would reflect all the cameramen and everything.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So they just digitally replaced the suit in most of the shots. And this I worked on probably the most. It was like off and on for 6 months, with juggling things and coming back to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I modeled it and textured it, but yeah, I don't have to show everything I did because this is a sculpture of my grandfather. Let's see. It's a 3D print of it, which I actually have. Let me grab it. I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but there's
Pretty
the
good. We
print.
got a good side by side there.
Yeah.
This one's great too. I think again with the detail of his skin and his hair and all of that detail and having that show up in a 3D print is really cool. I did piano lessons as a kid and we got these really silly little bust form sculptures of like Beethoven and whomever that sort of remind me of this, but it's just your grandpa. It's real cool.
Yeah.
Those ones were not as detailed as your grandpa, I will say that.
Oh yeah. What else we got? Speaking of work in progress, this is something
Woo.
I've been working on for a while. This is Mojo, is an X-Men character.
Those teeth.
He's a scary dude. Yeah. I've got. Let's see. So he's got a full robotic suit.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you. My wife's like, "You're still working on that?" I can put stuff down and pick it up like 5 years later and like keep going. Yes.
That's pretty great
dangerous.
though. I feel like people a lot of times if too much time apart, you're like you can't get back into that headspace of it. I wonder though, with working on a character like that, which is kind of this like robotic, half robot, half human, do you get just tunnel vision into like the gears and the cogs and the details of the mechanical portions? Because I feel like you just like go down a wormhole of little like nuts and bolts and tiny
yeah,
details.
you totally can. I basically go until it's not fun anymore, and that's why I haven't finished everything because I'll be like, I get this other idea. It's gonna be so cool. And then you start it. So that's why I try to like. The best luck I've had is if you just start something and try to finish it, like, instead of like getting it halfway, putting it down. But most artists have 2 or 3 work in progress going on, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty universal. Let's see, a couple more things. Let's see.
Yeah, and some of our that's super cool. That was another one that got printed out as well, right?
Yeah, this is I've got him over somewhere, but yeah, this is the photo of the print.
Cool.
This was like done for a startup place in Florida. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Last thing I did like Aquaman's costume. For the film.
Cool.
So it was cool to get it on the cover of Cinefex. I'm pretty stoked about that. Don't have the most high res image, but and what's this? Yeah, I did some concept stuff for American Horror Story.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah.
Season 3 intro. There's this demon thing that shows
Mhm.
up. And it's funny because there was a Reddit thread about it, and everybody's like, "I know what that is. That's the Jersey Devil." And everyone's like, and it's not. It's just something I made up with the director.
Oh,
but
Reddit.
Yeah, everyone's an expert, I guess.
I know.
But,
I like the reach for the Jersey Devil, though. I think
yeah,
I think we
it
had
is.
this conversation before. I'm also a big kind of horror movie monster fan. Also a big fan of American Horror Story. Season 3 was what this was from. I think was that Coven.
Yeah, I think it's called Coven. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
The best one.
That was a good one.
It was a great
I like
one.
season 2 a lot.
It was a great one. Also, Stevie Nicks was in it. Just this is a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
nother Twitch stream. But the intros, the intros to that show for all of the seasons are always super spectacular, and I love it because they would give you'd get these teasers, these kind of teaser trailers for the upcoming season that would include a lot of imagery that I feel like by the end of the season never actually made it into the show. And so I feel like Reddit goes wild with like one tiny symbol and someone's like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's the Jersey
Totally.
Devil.
It's almost like a tease, though. Maybe they should have put him in the like.
I know it's
something,
kind
you know?
of because those trailers were always so cool, and because the intros to the show were always so cool, and you could tell there's obviously a lot of time and like thought and care put into creating the intros. I always wish that there maybe would have been a little bit more, but I do kind of like that it was just this whole kind of crazy mystery, creepy ghoulies. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to work on. They've hit me up to do more, and I'm bummed. I just turned it down as I've been too busy. But
Yeah.
they, I wanted to do some of the other ones, but and it was really easy. The guy was like, he would just send me a photo of like a skull. He's like, kind of like this skull. Do something with this, and then I would do it. And next day, send an email, and he'd be like, okay, make it a little skinnier, and then I would just go back and. But yeah, it was pretty creative. I didn't have to go off of a sketch or anything. I was kind of get to do my own thing.
That's
cool.
nice.
I don't always get to do that at work.
Yeah.
We have like super talented 2D guys at work. But yeah. So it's the industry. It's every job's a little different, and it has a different feel, and sometimes there's a lot. What I liked about ILM is like they did have concept, but they trusted you a lot to kind of add, like maybe there's just one angle, and then you get to do all the other angles and, propose things. And like with the armor, I did this Tylosaur. He was like the bad guy rides him in Aquaman.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the armor, I mean, it's a completely silly movie. People riding animals.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
We love Jason.
It was entertaining. It was strangely entertaining. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, when they did at Island, when they did they show edits of the movie before we're done, like the visual effects, and they put a song to it, and they put Kid Rock to it, and it just fit. I don't know why. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, I got to design some of the armor too. I did have a drawing, but I got to come up with like these tail things there. So anytime there's a chance to do that, I love it.
That's great. I feel like that actually kind of surprises me through ILM. I feel like, although Aquaman being part of Justice League is a DC character, thank you. I do know a few things about the comic book industry. Nice. I feel like because, especially comic book characters, there's so much previous reference and imagery that I'm actually surprised that they gave you some creative freedom. Right. That's great. I feel like sometimes maybe people get so hung up on like this needs to be this like accurate portrayal, but also this creature isn't the main character, so
it's true. It's not
true, but they
want to put a spin on things too, like a new spin, so people have a reason to go. I was pretty excited that the director, what's his name, James Wan, he did the Conjuring. I love it. And
the
Saw.
Conjuring's great. Saw, great. The first one, revolutionary. Following one's less revolutionary, but
but I was pretty stoked he liked this one, and I like put it on Instagram, and he commented, and I was like, yeah,
Yes.
nerd points. That was pretty cool. I mean,
Those
a
are
lot
pretty
of those guys,
hardcore
you don't.
hardcore nerd points though. That's I think you
Yeah.
get double points for that.
Yeah, those guys. I'm so shielded from directors. Like, I mean, I might see them, but it's very rare to interact with
Right.
the big ones, at least. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Too
Enough
cool.
about this
Too
stuff.
cool. I know. Also, for anyone watching, feel free to throw questions in the chat.
Mhm.
I know we're gonna get into some workflow and kind of watch you do some design work, which actually we can jump into right now. So as
Sure.
Darrell's going through his process, feel free to jump in, throw some questions in. Christopher, I'll have that Americano delivered to you tomorrow morning. That was a joke. I'm not delivering you an Americano.
Aw.
This guy's great. This guy I love.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you love him. You're not repulsed. By
No,
my mom would be like, what is
again,
that? That's disgusting.
Horror movie fanatic. I don't. Have you watched? So far, there's only one episode out of Lovecraft Country.
No.
It's on
haven't seen
HBO. You need to
Okay.
watch it because the one episode and you're already like,
Ooh.
there's just so many great Lovecraftian creatures.
Okay.
You
I did watch
you
the
would
one you-
love it.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. You told me about Color of Space. I watched
Oh
that.
yes.
I love that. Yeah.
We watched
was
it
great.
again. Actually, I think after I had told you to watch it, we had watched it again. Perplexing, beautiful, creepy, terrifying.
Yeah.
Freak out Nick Cage, so good.
Freak Out Nick Cage is great. Yeah.
The colors
was
and the
gonna happen.
visual effects on that, I think, from my perspective, and I'll shut up, I won't talk too long, but having, through my job at Wacom, which is one of my most favorite things about having this job, is our ability to speak with artists like yourself and people that work on these amazing films. And I watched movies like The Color Out of Space, and I know, having just kind of this slight inside glance into what like a visual effects team does, that movie had to have been so much fun to work on. Like,
Oh yeah.
the color and the effects and this like space radiation was gorgeous. Was
Yeah, it
super
was
super
beautiful.
cool. So if anyone's
Yeah.
into Lovecraft or horror movies, go watch The Color Out of Space.
Totally. And sometimes like the scale of the studio is cool too. Like, I don't like working at studios with like 50 people that do what I do, because
For sure.
I mean, there's good and bad, but sometimes you kind of feel like a number, and in this competition, like so much.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, but yeah, I can just kind of, I'm gonna show a few things.
Yeah,
but
go for it.
This dude, I'm calling him the Cave Beast.
Cave Beast.
so
And you are in Zbrush right now, right?
I'm in Zbrush
Okay,
right now,
perfect.
the new one,
The new?
2021.
Oh, well, we haven't updated yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do cloth brush demos. I know everyone's watching this. That's like the new thing with ZBrush, and it looks super cool. Like, you can do cloth sim now. Like,
Oh,
bring
cool. Okay.
shirts on to people, and yeah, I've done some tests, but not enough to actually show it.
Right.
But I'm mostly like a creature dude. That's what I do. This is my spare time project. So I've always wanted to make a horror movie. I've done a couple like short stuff, but I thought I don't really have the budget to do one right now like the way I want. So what I'm doing is I can make a poster. So this is part of like a horror poster I'm designing. Kind of like, it's gonna be 80s style. I'm gonna bring in some humans for like
Okay.
scale reference. Dudes. Let's see. So I think they came in like different scale. So hit W. Oh, there they are. So just to show you, maybe he's like yay high, something like that.
Okay. He's a big
Yeah.
guy. This
He's
is
a
the
big dude,
guy.
but he's not like. I also didn't want to make him like Godzilla size, because then you're
Right.
working forever detailing him. So that was my strategy, like in between. So maybe like 2 elephants tall or something like that. Yeah, and then he started. Actually, what would be cool, I have a lot of these like renders when I was going, like while I was making him,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and I thought it'd be cool to show you like humble beginning. So of course it looks bad at the beginning. Renders.
Got to start somewhere. It's a
But I
rough
will
sketch,
show you.
right?
Yeah, totally. So here's how it started.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
yeah, so I use Z spheres in ZBrush, which is, I don't know if you've heard those, but you drag these spheres out, and then it'll turn it into a mesh, so you can quickly. So it started as that. Then you get some teeth. He's kind of like a baby dude. You can see he's starting to take shape, and yeah, just trying different poses. I'm not, I've got different arms. They're not even
Yeah.
welded in. Like it just at the beginning, things are just floating, and I'm just trying to figure it out. I'll send it to Photoshop. Sometimes I'll use like the liquify feature
Okay.
in Photoshop. He's starting to get there.
I like the evolution of his teeth. Like his
Oh,
teeth
yeah.
and his eyes.
I'm dropping them, I think.
Yeah, dropping them, but then his teeth are always
If you go smaller, it always gets more mean. So
right.
I'm going for mean. He wants to be scary. Yeah, it's getting. I think I shrink the eyes too, which also makes them appear more massive. I feel like got some humans in there for scale. Top view. Yeah.
Too cool.
And I started doing some renders like outside of ZBrush. I think this was a V-Ray render in Maya. The lighting is a little more realistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks like that looks real, like an actual 3D.
Yeah, I'm trying to base it off clay at first, just so your brain has something to like relate to, like some kind of material. So I'll do these kind of clay renders to see the forms. Unfortunately, like ZBrush isn't quite there yet, like inside of ZBrush to do these kind of renders.
Right.
They have this plugin that goes to Keyshot, and then Keyshot will kind of do these. But I like V-Ray. I like and Arnold, like these kind of standalone renders, because I can keep these scenes around and reuse lights and shaders if I want. There's his booty. Yeah, we're almost to the.
That's too cool though. I like that like you can look at him and even though he's still like how his legs are hunched in the back, it's a little like a frog. But you could see like how his muscles are like, okay, I think I can understand how he would move, which I would imagine, let's say this was going to go to an animation team, like all of that information, all of that detail put into this rendering is just going to help inform that team, whoever's animating it behind you,
Totally.
Like of how this guy moves.
Exactly.
Christopher asked if he played fetch or she. Do they play fetch? I think,
He's really slow, but I think my theory is that he'll move, but is really slow. It's just like he's not.
He's got a good belly drag there.
Things have to kind of come in near him, and then he'll eat them.
Gotcha.
So that was just kind of like all I was going to show for this guy. Just his different tools, obviously, different meshes. But I can actually do some sculpting.
Yeah.
Might as well. So one thing to note is he's perfectly symmetrical for the most part, besides his teeth. So that's just something I do at the beginning, and then I'll break the symmetry. Like I'll probably have a different number of toes on one foot than the other. That's all the stuff that makes it feel like a monster. Monsters aren't like beautiful usually. They're all they've had a seizure and things are drooping, and so I'm gonna do all that stuff, but that just hasn't happened yet. So. Yeah. What did it say? Work of art is never finished, only abandoned. So,
yep, it's true.
One day out.
I think I tried to use that excuse when I was in college and still a painting major, and my teacher was like, "No, you need to finish." I'm like,
they're like, oh, yeah.
But then if I finished, people can judge it or critique it, and I just
That's
wasn't
true,
ready for that. That was my own personal barrier.
Those people that want to critique. So jumping into another universe, this is another concept I'm exploring. He's like I'm calling him forest giant. He lives in the forest. He's a big dude. I'm still figuring out. I do have. I've been drawing a little bit, so this is like a rough sketch.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
Thanks. So he's, I actually took a render from ZBrush, and the head was like a ZBrush render, but then I just drew the body. Photoshop, yeah, just a way. This is all just a means to an end, like just to get me to the idea is not to like sell this drawing to somebody, you know, like that's
Right.
yeah. So I'm still working out the hands and everything, but I think he's gonna look kind of like this. One thing I can show you, I use something called PureRef. It's a reference program.
Oh, okay.
Opening it up. It's on the other monitor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looks like a more. It reminds me, especially from that sketch, of a more like human formed cave troll from Lord of the Rings. For
Yeah,
another good Lord of the
exactly.
Rings, he's got that very kind of large trolley, but more on the human side.
Totally. Well, so, oh yeah, this is Irfan View, which a lot of people don't know about. It's just a free picture viewer program. I like it a lot. It's just I've been using it forever. Yeah. So that's what this is, and then this is PureRef. This thing. And what's cool about PureRef is that you can drag it over top of stuff.
Oh, cool.
So,
Okay.
so you know, I don't have to worry about losing my window. And sometimes I'll clean off like my Zbrush interface to have like a little spot for this to sit.
Gotcha.
You know?
It's called
But,
Pure Ref. REF.
PureRef.
Okay.
Yeah, PUREREF.
Cool.
It's I almost want to say it's free. It's kind of one of those donation things. Like
Totally.
I gave him like $5 when I did it. Yeah. So and you can put in multiple images and you know and then you can like save out collages and stuff. I also do some collage stuff just in Photoshop. So while I was working, I made like a head collage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like people with gigantism and just interesting heads. This dude's name's Rondo. He's pretty famous in these old movies. I think this guy was the reference for Shrek, actually.
You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a French guy. I should have looked their names up. Yeah, wrestlers. So I was kind of using this ref as I was building my giant dude. He's not a giant. For some reason, I thought he had an interesting face, though.
He does, though. I think it's like
Yeah.
jawline, nose. I mean,
It's
yeah.
really long. So yeah, he started out kind of looking at those guys and pulling it around, and so I thought I would just kind of do some sculpting.
Yeah,
right?
do it.
This, to the advantage of people that are new to ZBrush, I haven't set up my preferences with this, so I'm like gonna go default, but I'm also gonna kind of set my prefs up.
Oh, cool.
As we go. Let's just act like when you open ZBrush, it's probably gonna look like this. Yeah. So yeah, I figured we'll paint the eyes first, like a little bit of poly paint. So when I'm gonna paint, I usually dock some menus. Do this. I usually get the color and stroke, and it's just to have like some cool eyes in my viewport. Like it's just kind of like a concept thing. So if you hit solo, it'll just whatever tool you're on, it'll just show that one. And I'm gonna go change my material to this. Where is he? There's a lot of material in there. Toy plastic, because it's just got a nice kind of eye highlight. If you do MRGB, and then you go in the color menu, you go fill object. It turns on poly paint. ZBrush is weird. You just have to get used to all the weird things.
It's definitely, especially for anyone that I think has gone through school or self-taught learning programs like Photoshop or Adobe, ZBrush is a whole other universe. The UI is very intimidating, but there are a lot of really great tutorials. I know there's a lot of streamers on Twitch that do ZBrush tutorials. YouTube is great. It's dense. Just be patient with yourself. Give yourself time.
It's a learning curve. I broke some models when I started. One thing I forgot to do is to divide. So you want the more points you have in your mesh, like the higher quality the paint will be. So I'm gonna go kind of like towards 1 million. Sounds like a lot, but for ZBrush it's not that much. So yeah, so divide. I'm gonna have my poly paint. And yeah, so I actually want to fill it. I don't want perfect white eyes, so I'm gonna go kind of off white. Let's see. I'm gonna turn my RGB all the way up to 100. Fill object. See if anything happens. I'm gonna do like, oh yeah. it's kind of weird. Like I'm picking the color, but you have to switch it. If I hit V, not sure if it's like that. Yeah, check this out. Let me try fill object. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. So sure, he's kind of got these weird. I think that's too yellow. I'm picky.
Little jaundice.
Little jaundice. I don't know. Yeah, on the stream, how much that shows up. All right, that's cool. That's cool. So we filled that.
Pretty, yeah,
what?
pretty good.
Yeah, pretty yellow. Pretty yellow. So we'll just paint an eye. The stroke menu, I've got drag rect. You can change your alphas. Try this 06. And I want kind of a dark brown color. So actually, I'll show you some ref. We're going to go for kind of a brown eye, right? There's a dark
Okay.
rim around, and then there's the color, there's the pupil, and there's these little like striations, and then we're going to paint some other, I'll show you some other cool stuff. Let's go for brown, dark brown. I want to go pure black because it's just going to look weird. So, if you hit X, it'll turn on symmetry, so I got a little red dot on both of them. And
I was just going to ask if you were going to use symmetry for this. Okay.
Totally, yeah. And I'm going to turn off Z-Sub because I don't want to sculpt. I just want to paint. Okay, so there's that. It's a little fuzzy. That's your focal shift. So if I go negative, you'll get a sharper. So that's kind of the black part, right? And then we'll go brown. Let's see. I guess I could zoom in. There's our color. It's a little off center. Let me try again. There we go. And then pupil, of course. Here we go. We're not done though. So we're gonna do boom, look at that.
We got eyeballs.
We got eyeballs. We can do something funky. We'll just do this alpha 5 and maybe a slightly different color. Let's see. Let's see what this does. I still have symmetry on. I always kind of, yeah. So this is going to do like these lines.
Cool.
It doesn't go all the way out, but we'll just do it again. Do it again. Because I don't want to paint these all by hand. The little white thing is a shadow. Yeah. The highlight thing. There's that. And let's just change our alpha. 01's kind of the default. If you hit S, you can change your draw size. And I is the hotkey for your color intensity. And let's go like a little lighter. Maybe I'll just change the hue just a little bit. It's gonna look boring if you use the same hue everywhere, right?
Right.
So,
there's so much depth in irises though too. Like eyes have a lot of variation.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna change my stroke to freehand because I'm not dragging anymore. And let's see. Just something to break it up a little. I might go like more saturated. Sometimes people have a little more in here. And color, like painting is actually kind of a hard thing, I think, to show up on streaming. But
yeah, zooming in on the one eye seems to be
helping out.
Seems to look pretty good, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so just, like when your eyes are actually kind of like glass, so there's caustics happening, like light's going in one side and balancing out the other, so we can kind of maybe paint a little brighter in like one spot or another just to get that fake caustics. If you hold shift, it'll blur the paint, which is, it's cool if you want to blur like things together. So let's see. I'm gonna make some dark lines. Let's see. I always kind of have to paint and undo, like just to get a feel for how it goes. Maybe a few of these iris lines I'll paint just so it doesn't look mechanical. I found anything in ZBrush, if you just use like 2 or 3 different brushes, it's going to be so much more alive than just like one brush.
Right. Well, and I think you were speaking about this earlier with characters and creating creatures, is they're not symmetrical. So I think even though ZBrush has this built-in symmetry tool, which is great for speed, and I think just like cranking things out, I think to go back then, once you have kind of the general sense or shape of things, and make things asymmetrical or off balance is what gives them, I think, more
More
character
life.
and makes them more realistic.
Totally, yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll break the symmetry really early. Actually, on this giant, I kind of did it as a test. I broke it earlier than usual. Um, but ZBrush also has a feature called Use Posable Symmetry, which I can show you. So if you break the symmetry, as long as your mesh, like the points on it, are built symmetrical, you can still sculpt one side and it'll find the spot on the other side of the model.
Oh,
Like
cool.
it's pretty smart. Yeah, it occasionally might break, but for the most part, it'll find the other cheekbone. So I'll use that too. Little trick. Yeah, so we got that. Let's do. We'll do our old. It's just like a paint trick. So we'll just paint like the window. Let's say he's in a room, and there's some super reflective window. It's bouncing off. Maybe I'll hold shift and smooth one side. Maybe there's a dot. Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's kind of weird when you have symmetry on. Undo. I kind of turn off symmetry for this part.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn the head back on, right?
Ooh.
So, yeah, I know. Ah! So another weird thing with ZBrush, if you're new, is it's putting the same material on both of these.
Okay,
But,
I was like, what did he got all sorts of slicked over. So now he's toy plastic. Okay.
Now it's toy plastic, but because I filled it with mRGB with the material, the material is locked to it, the toy plastic.
Okay.
But with this guy, I hit Alt and clicked it. I can go back and change the material.
Okay.
So that makes a little more sense. Yeah, I'm gonna Alt click, get back to the eyeball, and we'll just do our little window effect thing. It's just a demo. I'm not gonna go too crazy. It's funny. Sometimes if you just go fast, it's just like
right.
Looks just as good as if you were anal about it. Like I don't.
Right. I mean, I think
why?
we spoke about this before of like getting into this wormhole of details and getting sucked in. There's so much depth and cool reflections and gloss and things you can do, especially just in eyes, that I could see anyone easily just kind of, you just get trapped in there for a while.
Totally. Yeah. So we're almost there. This is as far as like a concept eye. Another thing I would do is just paint. We all have a little shadow.
Yep.
On our eye, so go kind of dark, and because it's basically changing the color of both tools. It's fine. I'm just going to change it back later. Just worried about the eye for now. I'm going to hit eye and then lower my intensity really low because it's just supposed to be subtle. It's a subtle shadow. You can even go in the eye a little bit. Let's try that. Maybe I'm hitting spacebar. I'm just going back to white.
Okay. Just
so the other guy fills. Yeah, so I'll do the other eye. Black. I can also bake the material in the giant head, so it's not switching like this, but it's all good. Yeah. I'm using a Cintiq. Just so people know.
Lovely,
really
lovely.
Made by these people called Wacom. They didn't tell me to say that. I did it all on my own.
Is that the 24?
This is a 24. Yeah, 24.
Pretty nice. That's my 24-inch Cintiq Pro. They're lovely. It's a great size. It's big, but not huge.
It's not so big it's going to fall on you and like handicap you and like break something. Yeah.
It fills your desk, but it's not the whole desk.
Exactly. So it's for a concept that's probably as far as I'll go. Like maybe we'll do some veins. Why not? We're in here, right? So
while you're there, that shadow added a lot. I think
it did.
Just to add that depth and
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should blur it a little bit. Maybe. And you're probably thinking, why aren't you using layers? You can layer. I find layers pretty buggy with polypaint, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Maybe someone knows a way, but I've had a couple friends that run into it too. So I don't know. I just kind of don't do layers.
It's like a real sculpture. You just have one ball of clay.
Totally. Sometimes you just gotta commit. just
Yep.
going. I do it with ZBrush sculpting too. Sometimes I don't use layers. I just like,
There's there's a number of artists that we've worked with, and I think Christopher has also tried this too. In Photoshop with digital illustration, you approach it like a painting and just work on one layer,
right.
which it's tricky. I mean, for people that have worked in Photoshop for a long time, you become accustomed to like all of the amazing benefits of having multiple layers, but then to take that down, you really you just have to be like on it. I mean, you can still Control Z, but you have to be very kind of maybe
it can
more
break
thoughtful.
you.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a
It can
challenge.
break your flow for sure. And I have the best intentions. Like I'll make layers and I'm putting the pores on this layer, and then I'll realize that I put something else on the layer.
Yeah.
I'll just flatten it. Yeah. So I'm just gonna do use lazy mouse, which basically means like when you drag, the computer will kind of smooth things for you. You know, use stronger brush. Yeah, so just a little veins. And if you really get really fancy, you can turn on Z add and you can actually sculpt while you're painting if you want to do that. Let's try it out. I hardly ever do it. I don't know if it's doing it. Sometimes I'll test stuff on the back.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you have a whole sphere there. Okay, so it's giving. It has dimension to. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
It's way too strong.
He's very stressed.
It's true. Yeah,
he needs some hydration and sunshine.
Been in the forest too long. Yeah, maybe I want to be able to see it. There we go. And of course, you don't want to do everything the same pressure. You know, some are super soft, some super dark. This goes to like sculpting, and nothing organic is ever straight either for the most part. You know, if you find it and you put it in, it's still gonna look weird. So like, you know, general rules of being a character artist. Like, yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, the one eye with the veins looks so much more realistic now than the other.
It's funny, like just really little things. There's I could change my alpha. What's this one? This one's kind of cool. Alpha 60. Maybe I'll change the stroke to drag rect, which just means when you drag it, it comes out. It's a little linear. I was just saying don't make straight lines, but yeah. Maybe I'll smooth it a little bit. Yeah. Actually, I was gonna do. Yeah, there's another one. Where is he? There's one that's kind of like lightning bolts. Yeah, let's see. Test it on the back.
Oh, that's intense. Cool. That's some
kind of
intense veins.
I'm gonna.
Real stressed. Real stressed.
Really stressed. Just the little capillaries, like, guys, don't want this guy coming after you. Yeah. So we'll do that. Those are decent eyes.
Yeah, that's great.
Get started. We can do some sculpting at this point. I don't really need the color things, so I'm gonna move those. I'm actually gonna show you kind of my UI a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you customize it and clear, because natively when you first open up ZBrush, there's just so much happening.
So much. Actually, my UI is even busier. But I hate having to go into each menu, so I just drag everything out of my viewport. But that's just the way to do it. One thing you can do too, let's see, interface. One thing I noticed, you can change this button size. 48 is what it's on now. You can actually make everything smaller. If you make that number smaller, and then you have to restart ZBrush. I'm not going to do it, but if you got good eyes, you can like go even smaller. If you can go larger, if you want grandpa resolution.
Yeah, the full like.
The full, So actually the first thing I do, you can load different layouts. These are like default, ZBrush layouts. So I like the one. Let's see. It's pretty important you get the right one before you do it, because some things are harder to like find once
Right.
you've committed to it. Like I'm looking at the left there. Yeah. Okay, we can go with this. But I just like that it has this stuff on the bottom. Um, so first thing I do, I'm just gonna dock this preferences thing. Config, enable, customize. So this allows you to start dragging things on the viewport. So if you hit Control Shift, no, Control Alt, you can drag this out, and boom, now that's on your menu, right? So I do this. First thing I do, because I customize it so much as I'm going, like every day I'll add something. So I kind of do that, right? And now I can turn it off, and this is the UI. I'll hit store, but then I usually save it as well. I'll just save it right here. Technically, you might want to put it in your Z startup. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot. Yeah, Z startup, and then I'll put like, I'm just gonna call it test for now, just because I'm testing. Yeah, so I'll do that, and then I'll just start dragging out things I use all the time. So I'll do brushes. I'll dock these, and I'll hit enable customize. The ones I don't use, I'll get rid of them, like Control Alt. You can just, if you drag to there, they disappear. Blob I don't really use. There's brushes I use, but you know, I don't put them in my UI because I don't use them that often. That's kind of, yeah, that's kind of it. Clay buildup, I think is one of the most important brushes. So I'm gonna hit BMT. That's move topology. That's another one. So I'm gonna hit Control Alt, drag that one out. I'll just do a few because I don't even know some of these. Okay, Damien standing. Yep. Because I'm so used to my interface.
Right. Right.
I'm just like, oh, where is it? It's always good practice to go without it. Damien standard is a huge one. That one's super handy. So the ones I use the most: move topology, clay buildup, Damien standard. That's pretty much and I'll show you guys what all these are. H polish. BH. So H polish. Why is he not showing up? There's. That's a good one too. It's kind of a flattened brush. So then I will, let's see. What else do I use a lot? Yeah, it's super important to customize it. Morph target. I'll show you guys what this is too. Put that down there. Layers, I'm always making layers. So I'll put that there. Yeah, all right. Store config, save UI. Yeah. Oh yeah, I also do materials. So I basically put these on keys. So if you want to make a hotkey, Control Alt, and then left click, and then you hit 1. And it's already assigned to something else, but I'm going to say okay. So Control Alt, left click, I'm going to go 2. So 1 is standard brush, 2 is move topology, 7 is my clay buildup. Don't ask me why, it just is.
It's just what you remember. I was going to say,
this is
the part, I think, with any digital program of assigning those hotkeys, dialing in your UI, setting, you know, if you're an Express key or Express remote user or not, or if you're just using keyboard shortcuts, like dialing that in is tedious, but I think the outcome at the end is like super helpful, just again for those quick keys. Yeah,
when you're new, like you're overwhelmed by everything, maybe you're not going to jump in. But once you've been doing it for like a few weeks, you're probably going to want to start doing this, I would say. Everyone's brain works differently, so
for sure,
you know, I like to show this way. Also, like I picked some of this up. Like I think at the Game Developers Conference, I saw a guy's interface like 10 years ago. I was like, that's a good idea, and I've kind of pulled things from different people. You know, I hotkey. So I got the brushes like 1 through 10, right? And then the materials I also hotkey. I do Alt 1 through 10, right? And I do stuff on my left. I'm right-handed, so I have like keys on my left because that way I'm not reaching across the keyboard all the time.
Right.
It sounds pretty nerdy, but it really makes a big difference. Like if you set things up that way.
Yeah. Well, because then
We're
when
all
you get
nerds.
into the process of actually sculpting, and when you're in the middle of a project, you don't,
Yeah,
it's
you're
fluid.
not-
Your motions are more natural, and you just
Totally.
know where everything is. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my early mentors was like, "What are you doing?" I was like reaching across the keyboard for. I'm like, I don't know. Help me. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna do. I'll just do a couple of materials. Macab Gray is like my go-to. This Z7 is something that I just found on ZBrush Central a while ago. Yeah, so now I can just with keys, I'm just switching materials because you always want to be checking your thing out with different lighting. Oh, that one didn't work. Alt 4. Sometimes it gets weird. There we go. That's a funny material. You can modify the materials. There's this cavity detection. You turn it down, yeah, it looks a little more natural. Sometimes you want to see the cavities more.
Yeah.
Testing stuff
What
out.
material is that?
This is called green clay.
Huh. Okay.
So this is matte cap materials, which kind of has the lighting is kind of baked in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna actually show you. Oops, let me do that. The lighting deal. This is something else I do. I bring the light over. So when you move the light around, nothing really happens with the matte caps. But if I do a different material, just kind of the old school materials, which is the basic material, that reacts to light. So it's good to use matte caps and the basic material, just so you can get different. Sometimes you need to see under the chin while you're sculpting. So I need to with the matte cap gray, it's always gray under the chin unless I rotate or. That's why I was talking earlier about like I like to render outside of ZBrush a lot of times because the lighting's more real, quote unquote. So yeah, just something to note. So of course you can add multiple lights and all that, but usually I just leave one light, and you can again with the basic material you can modify the spec. So there's like no spec or a little. Sometimes I just want a little. It hurts my eyes to have like too much. It's kind of distracting. So
yeah.
So I might do that. So I use basic material a lot too. Oh yeah, and then right click thing is popping up. So I like to turn off enable right click top up. I turn that off and I turn on right click navigation. That allows me to right click and rotate.
Oh,
Otherwise
nice.
you have to. Yeah, it's so much easier because when you're zoomed way in, you can't. It's hard to come over here, and I think you hold Alt, and you have to click. But here you can just right click. So that's a nice one. Yeah. So I guess we can do some sculpting. So obviously there's a lot of subdivision levels. I can show you. So that's Shift F. That's the base mesh. So if I'm doing a big change, I'll drop to the bottom level, grab the move brush. Let's see. And I'll just hit extra symmetry, move it out. Maybe I'll use my ref. It's on the other monitor. So I did some changes. There he is. I did some changes actually in this painting that's a little different than here. It might be hard to see, but nothing major though. I think it changed the mouth. The mouth's a little sadder or something. Oh yeah, there's also perspective. P turns it off. It looks weird with no perspective. It's like like those telephoto giant what am I thinking? Cameras. Yeah. So yeah, like that's telephoto. So everything gets flat, and then this is like kind of like your human eye. I think whatever this one is. You go into draw. It tells you 85. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good. The lower numbers is more fisheye, kind of like a GoPro camera.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Woo. Yeah, so you could really screw up if you work for days on like the wrong focal length. So that's something I usually get in like at the beginning. Like I like 85, but sometimes I'm on a show and they're like the standard on the show is 55. So we'll work on 55, like when we do our sculpts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you go to adjust that?
That's in the draw menu.
Okay.
Here, and perspective, I turned it on.
Okay.
There are times when I want to turn it off. Sometimes it's easier to see things flat. Um, yeah, so that's that. And then you can switch through the different focal lengths. I don't really mess with this horizontal or vertical. It don't matter. There's a lot of stuff in here. That's the only stuff I really mess with there. I've been using Zbrush for a while, but I don't claim to know everything. There's just like so much stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane.
Well, and then every update has a whole new list of features and
Yeah, but it keeps it exciting. So yeah, we'll do. Of course, the most of my early sculpt stuff is just Move Brush, really. I mean, just at the beginning, I probably use that brush the most. Yeah, just kind of getting the head shape. Oh yeah, I think his shoulders. Let me go like. I'll get pure ref a little bigger. Oh yeah, he's got massive shoulders. Massive. This little thing's lower. I could be using layers right now too. So there's layers new. It doesn't like you to make a layer when you're on the lowest level. So I step up. And if it works right, yeah, I made a hotkey low and high. So this actually in subtool, I think. Yeah, all low. So this will drop all your tools to the lowest level, and then all high will drop them all to the highest. I do that a lot, so I put that on a key. So if you want to make a layer, you got to be on the top level. Then you can make a layer. You can name it if you want. Shoulders. Half the time though, I don't name. I just go back later and just toggle it on and off just to be like, what's on that layer. So there's a bug too when you turn it off and you turn it back on. The polypaint comes on, so you have to turn it off. Don't know why. Yeah, so I'm going to drop to the lower levels. Just kind of bring the shoulders down more. And I think I'll just do some skin detailing stuff.
I didn't realize how crazy the back of his neck was too. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a little Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of vibe. Yeah, let's see. It's top level. Let's see. So that's, I did that on a layer so you can turn it on and off, which is kind of cool. But again, sometimes I just go for it and then don't use layers. Like right now I don't need it anymore, so I'll just bake it. So the changes are baked in. Just gotta commit sometimes, What's the deal? Oh yeah, so cool thing about Pure Ref is that it stays on top. Sometimes it's annoying though because the menus show up behind it, so you have to move it around. I don't really like the gradient in the background because I think all of us artists have some OCD things we don't like. But yeah. So I'm gonna let's show some skin detail stuff. Let's see. This interface doesn't have the poly count. I really like to have the poly count out. And I always forget where that is. Miscellaneous. Yes. All right. So I'm gonna customize again. I'm just gonna bring the poly count out. Yeah, that's good. So now I know how many polys. 3.7 million. That's pretty good. But I would say if I'm going to do like crazy skin detail, I want even more than that. So I'm going to divide it one more time. So 11.95 million. That's a pretty good number. Most people's machines that won't crash. If you have at least 16 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say I have 64, and if you only have 16, I would definitely say try to get 32. The difference between 16 and 32, you're going to really feel it. The difference from 32 to 64, I don't feel as much. But I think it comes in handy when I have like other stuff open, like I have Maya open, I have
Right.
Mari open,
Right.
and I have ZBrush open. You know, because if you only have 16 gigs, you're kind of like just have one thing open.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and
or
I think that's one thing people often forget too, especially when you're getting a new computer, is how is that going to affect processing speed, quickness, latency, pen lag, all of those other things. And very rarely, I feel like, do you ever have one program up. There's always other things
totally.
running in the
Yeah.
background. So
Yeah, I teach a class once a week too online, like Think Tank Online. Shout out to any of my students that are watching.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I always tell, like some of them occasionally have an older machine, and I'm just like, just close their web browser too, because that eats up a lot. Like if you really just want to render, just have Maya open, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. I go on tangents a lot too.
They're important.
Okay.
They're important.
They're important. So, the morph target thing I was telling you about, we're gonna store it. We'll see why. And I'm gonna make a layer, and I'm gonna click a button. I'm gonna save first because I know saving's not exciting, but sometimes ZBrush crashes, so I'm gonna save first.
I realized I'd muted myself. Does ZBrush have autosave?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
You can, but I don't trust it.
Yes. No. I was gonna say, don't ever trust. I always say, 30 minutes, hit save.
Yeah.
Just every 30 minutes.
Totally, yeah. It's good that Autosave's there. Actually, ZBrush is one of the best programs that if it's a crash, it almost always saves it like right
That's
before.
great.
And then when you hit comma, it shows up in like the quick save or something, like your project will show up there. Yeah, this is other stuff I'll work on. So that's really nice. Thing is, like with Maya crashes, it's usually just gone. Like there is a temp directory, but it might like corrupt your stuff.
Right, or a portion of it is missing, or of course it's always the important pieces, right?
Totally, yeah, exactly. Just the part you need is not there,
Always.
but everything else is yeah. Yeah, let's do. I'm gonna do I'm not gonna go pores yet. What do you say? We got like 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, we can. Yeah. If anyone has any questions too, like, hit me up.
Yeah, for sure. The Think Tank team is here.
Oh my goodness. I can feel their eyes on me.
I know everyone is watching.
Oh yeah. So the thing I was telling you that sometimes crashes. That's why I saved it. Is use Posable Symmetry. Hit it. Let's see what happens. You can do it. This is the thing that allows you to. Oh yeah. Sculpt on one side and it finds the other side, even if you had moved things. Yeah, it's pretty good. I usually go in and do like a sandy check. That's pretty good. So, Damien Standard's a good one. It's just a good go-to wrinkle brush. Carving in some wrinkles. Like I was saying before, like some make some things deeper than others, don't go the same intensity. That's why the Cintique's nice because it has the pressure sensitivity. Sometimes I have to go lower my Z intensity. I do a lot of like long X's. You could say like this there, and then like another long.
Yeah, there's like a slight crossover with the wrinkles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a little. You don't have to do it for every stroke. I'm working symmetry for now. Like what I might do later is like turn it off, smooth some spots. So it's not the same on both sides.
Is it easy in ZBrush to, so let's say you, like right now you're drawing these epic crow's feet, right? All of these wrinkles, and you have symmetry on. Is it easy to go in, turn symmetry off, and kind of undo or smooth out some of the wrinkles so they're not so symmetrical?
Right, yeah, that's kind of what I was doing. So I'll just hit X to turn symmetry off, and then let's say I'll get rid of like this one. I'm just holding shift and smoothing.
Okay.
Cool. One thing that I do, I'm going to dock my brush menu. There's these modifiers. So if by default, brush modifier 0 means it's going to be a really strong smooth. It's going to kind of wipe out your wrinkle. If I hold shift, that gives you the smooth option, right? If I up the modifier closer to like 100, it's going to try to smooth like the top of the mountain without going in the valley. It's kind of you still have to turn your intensity down. Here's the intensity. But this comes in handy. I use it to clean up scan data because it'll get rid of like the little noise on the scan data.
Okay, yeah.
But leave the major forms because you don't want to just destroy. Sometimes the smooth brush is just too destructive. So that's like a trick I use to make it not as strong or not go as deep. There's also on the flip end of that, if you hit comma, there's extra brushes. They're kind of hidden away, and somewhere in here there's a smooth brush. Smooth. This smooth valley, smooth peaks is kind of the brush mod thing I was talking about. Smooth stronger. So it's like a nuclear smooth. It's gonna, it kind of destroys your forms. Like
Yeah,
you can see how it's
like
shooting it back.
too much.
Too much. Like sometimes you want that, but not always. So, and another way to like you were saying, how do I get rid of stuff? Is that I stored the morph target earlier, and if you get the morph brush, which is BMO, it'll revert back to that state when I stored it. So
cool.
I stored it. Yeah, I stored it right before I started doing these wrinkles. So when I click, it's going back to that like history state. So I use that a lot because maybe the supervisor is like, you just went too crazy on the wrinkles. If I didn't have maybe I don't have a layer that I can't turn it down. So I'll come in with the morph brush, just kind of revert back. So that's super handy. There's also like morph target. There's this thing called switch. Drag that out. Switch. Let me show you a better. Okay, let's see. Switch goes back. It shows you what it looked like before like when you stored the morph target. So let's say you do a bunch of sculpting and you want to see how it used to look. You can just hit switch and it'll go back and forth. So I sculpted this. I didn't do much. I sculpted this nasolabial here.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit switch, it goes back, shows you the old history state. You hit it again.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Back. This keeps me. I think this is faster than turning layers on and off and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for like the fastest point, A to B. And
right.
Sometimes I'll have supervisors at my desk and they'll be like, okay, you changed the nose. Show me the before, and then I'll store the morph and then do the switch thing. And shows them right away, and they're impressed.
Yeah. Well, it's fast. It's the time.
Yeah. It's
Time is money.
It's also It's also like a sanity check of that. Did I do that? Like,
right.
Did I actually sculpt? And then you can switch back and forth. Yeah. So like, I can show some skin detail, like built-in stuff. There's like two thought processes with skin details. There's like academies of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the purists, which are everything is done by hand with like their custom tools, and that's cool. And then there's the people that are like, they'll just buy pre-made alphas or pre-made pores. And at the extreme end of that, you can buy a face that's like flattened out, like a texture that has all the pores in it. Line it up with your model. You can transfer the pores over like in a snap, using like Mari and stuff. So that's another. If I'm on a job, sure, like I might do that. But when I'm at home, I'm more of a purist. I think I'm kind of like in between. So I'll use some alphas, some of them I made, some of them I might have bought or edited. Yeah, but I think it's good to have your own style too. Like, don't just use something pre-made.
Right. Yeah. I think I would imagine that there's a lot of ease, especially for things as skin could get so detailed and so textured that if people out there have made these kits and easy brushes that you can use that and then build on top of it and use that as like a piece of your arsenal to kind of.
Exactly. Yeah.
But also being laboring over those wrinkles and eye veins and stuff, I think you also learn so much and that's
You
part of that
do.
learning process is like back and forth, especially with sculpting. I mean, and this goes to traditional sculpting too, of like literally working the clay in and out and back and forth. You're going to figure out, you know, what tools you use to get the effects and the aesthetic that you want.
Versus just taking a pre-made thing
Right,
and slapping.
right.
You might not learn as much, for sure.
Right.
So let me do a little bit. I'm gonna do standard brush and stroke. Maybe I'll dock this. Let's see. You did not want to dock where I wanted. I used to be pretty picky about like having a lot of interface for my sculpt, but now I've given up my left side just to have more buttons. Like, yeah. So yes. Anyway, spray stroke. Let's go with the dots alpha and my old try it on the back thing. Oh yeah, C sub. We don't want RGB, so we'll turn that off. Let's see what happens. So this is like a quick way to get like. I'm gonna go stronger just because we're streaming and things might not look as good. I'm gonna turn lazy mouse off. Whoa, too strong. Probably a good idea to do my old morph target. I'm gonna delete what's there, store one, and the layers I have, I'm just gonna bake them. Right, so we're new again. Maybe I'll make a layer too. Yeah, don't like the scale. If you have a lot of undos, you can drag the slider up there too. Yeah, we're just doing. This is kind of like when I don't have a lot of time, I'll do the spray stroke. I won't do it on the face so much. I'll do kind of custom stuff there. And then something else you can do. I think for the most part, your skin is kind of like that up there, but then of course you have more like chicken skin on your neck. Let's see. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna change it to freehand, and I'm gonna change my alpha to this 60. I'm gonna go lazy mouse. Let's see. Yeah, so again, I'm gonna exaggerate just so stuff shows up, but this is a way to get kind of like a leathery feel. Just doing little circles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and with anything I do, if you just do the same brush, it's gonna look generic. But if you do 2 or 3 things, it just takes 2 or 3 passes, I guess you could say, and turn off symmetry for like the center line. So stop. Maybe I'll do like drag rect. Just a couple like random, random dealies. It's got stretch marks. Even buff dudes can get stretch marks.
It happens to the best of us bodybuilders out there.
Right? I'm not a buff dude. I'm trying.
Skin's crazy. Skin's a weird, I think muscles and skin and all those, like, it's just different for everyone, and all of those cool textures and like craziness makes it more realistic, which is super cool. That's always the favorite thing, I think, to see characters and creatures that look, some creature with 20 eyes probably isn't real, but the way that they're created and the way that they're rendered and their skin and those textures just make them look so much more real. So yeah, I love actually watching you add all of these textures to this. Guys, this is crazy.
It's almost kind of relaxing in the way, like, I put music on when I get to this stage, and just podcast.
Do you have a go-to playlist?
Um, I'm slowly building one. It just depends. Like I grew up a rocker, so I'm
Yeah.
all like Metallica and Tool and all that. But I've listened to it so much that like lately I'm into like the midnight and like kind of retro wave stuff.
Yep.
Just jump around. I was listening to the ET soundtrack the other day.
Oh,
Yeah, it's so good. I was
that's
like
gonna
almost
be a
tearing
good
up.
one. Oh,
So good. Love that movie. Um, yeah, so I'm
E.T.
just kind of
Excellent texture. That's what it stands
right?
for.
Oh yeah.
He has excellent texture. I remember we had a ET toy that was like some sort of probably fake leather, but that you could tell that they had tried to like mimic the texture on this toy, which they didn't do a very good job. But his character, that character had such crazy thick textured alien skin.
Oh yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. It was like they made him. It was like old person skin, but it didn't. It worked. It
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a Italian designer. I'm pretty sure it's the dude who did the ET effects, like the skull.
Oh, cool.
He also did some stuff on Dune, like the old Dune movie. Yeah, the spice people. I don't know if you remember those big people in the vat. It's kind of disturbing.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. It's weird.
the more spice they ate, the more they morphed into this
Yeah.
giant like water worm thing.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think he did that too. I'm obsessed with special effects. Like I feel like I was born in the wrong era. Like if I had been in like the 80s, I would have been like in LA doing the makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they still do that, but it's not
It's
quite the same.
yeah. I feel like it's Morph. We actually were talking about this yesterday a little bit on Carter's stream because he does this cool Clash of Cronies, which is this like live animated battle series. It's pretty hilarious. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Christopher Diego. And
Thank you,
Chris
Chris.
said yes. He said thank you, Darrell.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, talking about just that cool, working with prosthetics and actual like real materials to create like actual effects and stuff. But I think it's cool. I think practical effects in combination with CGI is what makes, especially films that Leica creates. I mean, it's stop motion, it's puppets, it's actual sets. They're all, scale models of things, so they're not necessarily miniature, but smaller. But I think it's that cool combination that you have that real life texture. And of course it can be created digitally, but when you have the two working together, it just makes it like extra magical, which is
I totally agree.
super cool.
I think Lord of the Rings did a really good job on that, like combining the real and the CG.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went through, I don't know, I go through these weird movie spurts where I'll just watch like a series, and I just watched the 3 original Jurassic Park movies this last week, which again, for practical effects, the original Jurassic Park is spectacular.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
So good. And then the later ones were like, you could tell I think they tried to push it a little too hard with like full CGI on some things, so it kind of lost a little bit, but it's always that medium of like having the combination of the two that I think is
so cool. Yeah. If I was
it just works, yeah.
If I was unlimited funds kind of dude, I would try to do like the Peter Jackson, like they have the Weta Workshop, the Weta Digital.
Yes.
And that would be my dream, just to hang out there and just build stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I could still build stuff at home, but
but to have a
so much
whole
time.
warehouse.
Yeah, have a whole warehouse, and then someone else could mold for me. And yeah, that would be
a lot of like
crazy.
Cool foam sculptures and I think the materials that get used for those practical puppets and characters and things and sculptures are always really fascinating. Watching people mold things with foam or like styrofoam or like insulation foam is like baffling.
So you can see it here. I've just kind of used 3 different techniques: just the rolling the leather and then dragging it mixed with like spray stroke, just to get something. If I hit let's see, if I switch, so that's before, this, this is just the beginning, but it's already coming together a little bit. So that's that part. I can actually show you. I built an animatronic baby. I can show it. Yeah, it was a college. Make sure I don't know what that is. All right. And it actually used to be like on the front page. Oh, it still is. So I got 70,000 views. This is I made this creepy thing in college for my animatronic class, and I did the sculpture with clay, servo motors, and all that. And it blinks, and I airbrushed it. And there was another video that was close up, which I don't. It's been lost forever. My buddy had it. Yeah. The hands are like cable controlled. Yeah, so.
I think when we ever are allowed to have things in person, Darrell, we're gonna have to discuss a haunted house.
That will be amazing.
We need like projections, and we have a cool at the Experience Center right before we closed for COVID. We got this cool projection mapping system, and I just want the walls to bleed. But animating that is real tough. So trying to figure out how to make that happen.
I was in the office visiting you once, and you had stuff projected.
Oh yeah, we did some really funny. I had like Worf and Star Trek characters popping out of our monitors. Anyone would start there, so I figured.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, obviously I could go on forever. I don't know how much more time there is.
No, this is great. I think obviously I could probably watch you do this for 20 hours on Gumroad.
Oh my goodness.
It's really fascinating though, and I think again, thank you for sharing your tips, your process. I think what's cool is to know it's not ever just the combination of one tool. It's not one output, especially for that skin texture. You're doing so many other layers and layering these textures and kind of working back and forth with things to get that effect. Also nice to know that it's not too difficult in Zbrush to kind of go back. That's I think the one thing when I am introduced to new programs is like, oh, if I do something, how hard is it for me to undo or like ease up on whatever you've just worked?
The non-destructive workflow. Yeah, for sure. I'd always. It's good, but then again, there's also like sometimes you just gotta go in, no layers, just do it. Just trust yourself. Like the old guys with clay, there's no undo button.
Yep.
Yeah. But hopefully this helps some people, and I know we'll probably do some more of these.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Show some different stuff next time.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to think of, I know. It's October. It's just around the corner, so I think we can officially just start getting into all monsters all the time.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, super, super cool. This is great. So, again, find and follow you on the socials. You're on Instagram at Art by Dabney.
Art by Dabney.
Yep.
Art by Dabney.
And then also on ArtStation, you have your portfolio up there. And then Gumroad. How many tutorials do you have right now on Gumroad?
I have technically 3. There's modeling the robot, modeling the gun, and then I have texturing the gun, the alien gun. The modeling the robot's the newest one. It's the longest one. If you just want to jump in a shorter one, I would go for the bundle. You get the modeling and the texturing one.
Okay.
For the gun, and it's Maya. But I start for beginners. I started right at the beginning, and I show the beginner stuff. If you already know Maya a little bit, I do jump. Like I stop repeating myself. Once I get through, and you just. I think everyone will learn from it if you're into hard surface modeling, Maya.
Now, are you planning or do you have any Zbrush tutorials coming on Gumroad? Or
I don't right now. I'm planning one, but I don't right now. I do have a YouTube channel too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Let me get that. gonna play sound. So yeah, this is my YouTube, which is youtube.com/c/art by Dabney, and I do have the time lapse of the giant.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's showing the whole process. Kind of sped up a little bit, but you can see um, internet's being laggy. But yeah, so
Okay,
that's
cool.
on there. So that's kind of a freebie. But yeah, this definitely I need to do a ZBrush tutorial for sure.
Yeah, I know your Maya ones get super in depth, but I feel like your characters and your creatures are so cool that I think if people would like it.
Thank you. Actually,
The people demand.
I actually have I did one, right? It's not necessarily mine, and I did it for digital tutors,
Okay.
which is now called Pluralsight. Oh, it's still live. Okay, you can still get it.
Okay.
This is pretty much my workflow, although this is probably 7 years old or so. I don't use like Topo Gun anymore.
Yeah.
But
I think that's got to be the tough part with older tutorials is the process is there, but the tools have changed. I mean, ZBrush has changed so much, and
yeah, I would say my ZBrush process is still pretty similar.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I would say of course there's a couple new tools. Like I said, I use the clay buildup brush now a lot more than I used to. I used to use clay tubes brush. But yeah, this is a little video. I did the little sea monster dude. Yeah.
Too cool. Ugh, he's a good one. Oh, look again, the teeth.
Thank you. Yeah, that was
Teeth
done
creepy
3
crawlers.
weeks after work.
Whew.
Just did it at night. The neighbor's dog upstairs was barking. Like a couple spots, I had to edit it out of the video.
Oh, the dogs.
The dogs. I was hoping my dog would make an appearance, but he left.
I know. My dog came in and then he also left. He was lapping up water very loudly for a moment. So as dogs do.
Yes.
Well, shoot. Thank you again so much for joining. Thank you for everyone on the Twitch stream for joining in. This has been really fun. Thank you guys for taking some time out of your Saturday afternoons to learn a little bit about Darrell's process. We will do this again.
For sure.
We'll have to pick another cool creature, maybe some different... Gosh, do we get into hair? I don't know. Some other cool texture project. Hair could be cool. I feel like that's another difficult, right? To just nail down. There's so much. There's just a lot happening with hair. So maybe we'll find a furry monster.
Yeah, for sure. We can do that.
Well, cool. Again, check him out. Find him on Instagram, ArtStation, and of course his tutorials on Gumroad. 20 hours of Maya plus.
Yep.
You can definitely get the full run from beginning to end, and at least get yourself immersed enough to kind of go carry on in your own direction with your own style. So thank you again, 6'4". Thanks for joining. And yes, we also look forward to more of this. I think that's another one of your think tank team.
It might be. I think that might be a Vancouver basketball player.
Oh, well, if he's 6'4".
Yeah, he's pretty tall. He's pretty tall.
Oh, we had a request for hard surfacing in ZBrush. Okay, noted.
Ooh, okay, noted. All right.
Add that on the checklist for next time.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank
thanks,
you.
Megan.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks everyone for joining us again, and we hope everyone has a good and safe weekend. We will be back on Wednesday with another creative stream. I don't know if we've decided what we're doing yet. It'll be something amazing, as always. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and we will see you all soon.